Okay, it's 5 o'clock, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order for Thursday, February 20th. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to know that this meeting is in person and is being recorded. And for purposes of the meeting, Carrie Pawson is not here. William Bowles is not here, but everybody else is Phil Lenz is not here. Everybody else is present. Okay, the first part of the agenda is the fiscal year 26 budget hearing, DPW, water, sewer, and trash. Call you up? Nope, go right there. Yep. Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, Tim Barber, Department of Public Works Director.
Okay, are we gonna have stuff up there too? Or?
Yeah, please.
So this is my narrative for the FY25 and FY26 budget. Would you like me to read through it?
Yeah, I'd like you to read through it that way, because people that are watching on TV will be able to hear it.
Throughout the FY24, we continue to see inflation with increases in many categories, including equipment, vehicles, supplies, parts, and service. Consultant fees have also escalated exponentially, and this affects most of our divisions. While Mass DOT has also revised their regulations on transportation project submittals, this is carried over to increased expenses for survey, design, meetings, responses to comments, and presentations. We currently have multiple road construction projects in various stages of design and programmed into Mass DOT's Transportation Improvement Program, which are all affected by these cost increases. Our asphalt contract also increased by 60% in July of 24, which will drastically decrease the amount of work that we can complete within our budget. In FY24, we resurfaced and reconstructed 9.2 miles of roadway and crack sealed 14 miles of roadway, spending $3.8 million. And that's through various funding sources.
Yeah, before you go on, how many sources do you have for the asphalt contract? How many suppliers or contracts or quotes do you send out?
So we advertise for bid. So I believe we typically receive 2 to 3 bids per contract year.
Okay.
And
It could be multiple contractors bidding on specific projects, so.
yeah, well, it's based on a forecasted amount spent and amount of work being done each calendar year or each fiscal year. So that 60% increase was the lowest bidder. So, there were 1 or 2 other higher bidders that came in.
So is it just the raw material, or is it the raw material and the labor?
Yeah, so raw material and laid in place.
Lay in place, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Tim, I'm sorry, can you just tell me what page you're reading from? Because this is a lot of pages.
First
This is the
First
narrative.
page, the narrative.
Oh, it's a separate
It's in your,
document?
it's in your paperclip packet.
Paper, it's in your package.
It's also on the
Thank you.
screen up
Thank you.
there.
It's also on the screen.
Gotcha, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead.
Since we're paused?
Yeah.
The consultant fees that you mentioned, is that broken out on one of those spreadsheets as consultant fees? Because
Typically, our consultant fees are expended either on the professional consultant line items or in the budget or in CIP when we request for certain projects.
okay.
Go ahead.
And the funding sources vary, so the funding sources are through CIP, sometimes through grants, through the state, through the Chapter 90, or other funds that they may have, like they had a winter recovery account fund in the past, and they, also we use when Eversource comes into town and does work on our roads, when they're replacing some of the gas mains, we charge them to reconstruct the road. So we use some of their funds to supplement
Yeah.
our funds to do this work.
Also, some of the opera money was used for
Yeah.
something.
So when you see, typically we request about 1 million for road construction per year, and how do we spend 3.8, right? So it's through all those other funds with some Chapter 90 and Eversource.
Yeah. How many miles in the town of Dartmouth?
About 205 to,
So it's 14 miles of 205, right?
yes, exactly, yeah. And that 14 is just a crack sealing. So we surfaced just
Okay,
over
yeah,
9
yeah.
miles,
Yeah, okay, yep.
but and then the crack sealing is just more of a preventative maintenance to maintain
Yep.
the roads.
Do you consider that to be an average, not the money, but the amount of road that you did? Is that an average per year?
No, it's actually, that's a high. That's high. You noticed the amount of road work that we did last
Oh, you
year,
did a lot. I seem to drive on all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know, I know there was some talk ago of putting together a plan to spend about $30 million over
Yeah.
a long time to fix all the roads in town. Has that, and I don't know what the funding source for that was going to be, but has that advanced any, or have we?
Not yet. That's a long-term planning forecast. So, I had estimated about $10 million per year to keep all the roads in town at a good rating.
Right.
And, we're nowhere near that.
So
No,
how
but-
would that, how would we, or how would the town advance that requirement?
We would have to budget that and probably either in operating or in capital improvement for a long term, and probably have to borrow that money.
Did you receive any guidance from the long-range planning group about trying to budget that amount of money?
Not to budget it, but just,
Be cognizant of?
yeah, being cognizant of it, yes.
Thank you.
So our engineering division inspected 41, new replaced or repaired water services, 51 new replaced or repaired sewer services, and 1 new drain service in the year. Also inspected, 1,557 linear feet of new sewer main, 2,385 linear feet of new water main, and 500 linear feet of new drainage installation. Engineering admin also reviewed 69 stormwater permits throughout the year, 50 water and sewer permits, 106 right-of-way permits, all residential and commercial site plans, zoning variances, and special permits. The engineering division also provided resident engineering for all road surfacing and reconstruction projects that we completed throughout the year. This year, we updated some of our permit fees as well. So we noticed that a number of our fees for water, sewer, some transfer station collection fees hadn't been changed in some 10 to 20 years. So we looked into our fees, we compared with other municipalities, and came up with some new fees for water, sewer, drain connection fees, water and sewer drain inspection fees, grease trap, water and sewer testing fees, and plan review fees. And we also updated our inflow and infiltration fee calculation, fire protection fee structure, and added a sewer capacity mitigation fee for any large sewer flow projects that are going to discharge into our wastewater system that was not zoned for that and the system was not designed for that flow, and the property was not zoned for that development, we added a mitigation fee for the sewer capacity.
Well, just
Go ahead.
a comment and a question. When you reviewed your fee structure this year, you made some adjustments, and you said you had compared to other towns. When I hear that, it concerns me, because the Department of Revenue, when they talk about what a town can charge for fees, regardless of what that fee is, the cost of the fee can exceed the cost of the service. So if you're feeing somebody for doing an inspection and something like that, and you're comparing it to other towns, what they're charging, well, that's not a true comparison. You need to look at, well, what does it cost Dartmouth to go out and do that inspection and come up with an average cost, not with the average cost of what everybody else is charging, because they're applying different hourly rates.
Correct. So we didn't specifically use other municipalities' costs, but we looked at them for reference, in a large number of them. But when we created our fees for the inspection, we looked at what it costs the town for our inspectors to go out and do the inspection, and then do the reporting as well.
So when you do that, do you look at an hourly rate, and is that the individual's hourly rate, or is that an hourly rate plus an overhead?
Plus an overhead for benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, benefits.
Is everybody using the same overhead? What's the overhead that you use? It is a certain percentages of their hourly rate?
Yeah. So I don't know the percentage offhand, but we charge, basically, we rounded it off to $50 an hour.
Yeah, Gary's the one who does that calculation.
Well,
Yeah,
I do
the overhead on top.
I do the overhead calculations
is
for
it
the
like 1.3?
enterprise funds.
Yeah.
And we take, there's a lot of factors that I use when I calculate. I calculate the cost of health insurance, retirement, everything gets
Workers'
put in.
workers' comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maintenance and repair costs for vehicles and equipment, as well as facility maintenance costs, continue to rise, and fuel costs continue to fluctuate. Electric, natural gas, oil, and propane costs also continue to increase in both volume and conveyance. There is an uncertainty towards the future of purchasing diesel-fueled heavy equipment and medium equipment. Mass DEP has adopted California's heavy-duty regulations for stringent regulations on heavy-duty emissions, and had planned on implementing an enforcement in 2025 with the exemption of transit buses, emergency vehicles, and military tactical vehicles. But the new engine technology is reporting shortages. Massachusetts is also planning to implement and enforce in 2026 the Advanced Clean Truck Rule, which it's enforcement against heavy and medium-duty vehicle manufacturers to ramp up electric vehicle sales from 2025 to 2035, forcing manufacturers to restrict sales of gas vehicles to dealers until they meet electric vehicle sales requirements, making it difficult to access heavy and medium-duty vehicles. So basically, they're putting the restriction on the manufacturers, so the manufacturers are putting the restrictions on the dealers. So to buy a diesel, heavy-duty diesel vehicle, like a solid waste or recycling vehicle, the dealers have to sell so many electric vehicles to be able to sell a diesel vehicle. So for us to purchase a diesel vehicle, we're looking at purchasing at least one electric vehicle this year, a heavy-duty vehicle, so that it'll give us a credit to purchase diesel vehicles.
So they hold that against the consumer?
Yes. So it's held against the manufacturers, which is held against the dealers, which ultimately ends with the consumer.
Part with, I'm not
Yeah.
agreeing, but I
Yeah.
understand the part
Yeah.
about the dealership has to sell so
Yeah.
many, but I
So-
guess it sounds like you have to buy so
Yeah.
many electric versus so many diesel as well.
Yeah, yep. It's not only diesel, I think it's all internal combustion, so it's
Right,
gas as well,
whatever.
yeah.
If I
Nice.
could as well, do we have any heavy-duty electrical vehicles as of yet?
We do not.
Okay. Is there any talk about the performance of them, how they line up with the diesel vehicles? Is it going to be detrimental to the town to get more electrical heavy-duty vehicles?
There is concern, you know, if we look at like our recycling vehicles, which, you know, we have 205 miles of road in Dartmouth. It's a large town. And then at the end of the day, our recycling vehicles have to deliver the recyclables to Brockton and come back. So, you know, will they have the range is a question,
Yeah.
you know, and then what's the maintenance and how long will they last? The price of the vehicles are about double what we pay for an internal combustion vehicle, so.
How about, does DPW have any electrical vehicle charges at all?
We have one charger at the DPW administration office. We have two chargers, actually.
Okay.
And then we're planning on upgrading our electrical service and installing chargers at the highway division.
Thank you.
So that will, you know, depending on the size of the electric vehicle that you purchase, it gives you an allowance to buy a number of internal combustion vehicles. Let's see.
Okay.
So where'd you leave off?
Right after electric vehicles.
Recycling disposal locations are also scarce.
Yeah, so we've also worked on a 10-year plan for a plan to start purchasing more electrical vehicles, but also in the past, we've purchased, you know, new fleet vehicles, heavy-duty vehicles to replace our aging fleet, but we're also looking at rebuilding some of our aging fleet for probably half the cost of purchasing new and a quarter of the cost of purchasing electric, so.
Wow.
This year, we've also adjusted some of our transfer station and bulky item pricing to increase revenue and mitigate increase in expenditures. And then starting in FY '26, the Board of Public Works has approved a fee increase for our annual SMART program costs by $20 per household for the annual fee. We looked at possibly increasing the bag fee as well, but I think the annual fee is a more controlled fee that we can forecast, where the bag fee, it fluctuates on how many bags you use, if you use large or small bags. And so the board approved the increase, $20. And then, like I said, some of the transfer station bulky items, we also increased based on the amount of items that we're seeing and the cost that it's costing us to get rid of these items. In 2024, we collected 978 tons of refuse at the transfer station alone, which is a 6% increase from 2023. We collected 4,870 tons of refuse curbside, which is an increase of 2.3% from 2023 as well. And we collected 12 tons of bulky items, which was a decrease in 7.3%. But we also had an increase of 58 smart accounts with a total number of 10,516 accounts. So every year we see a small increase of accounts. A couple of years ago, we saw a large jump because a couple of the local haulers sold to larger companies and their prices increased. So we had a big influx of accounts coming into our SMART program. both, both public residential areas and private residential areas, which we haven't seen a lot of private residential areas come online in the past, but
Does
They-
the
we-
program pay for itself, or you subsidize it?
the program?
Yeah, does the program?
No,
cover
it does, yeah.
It does.
It pays for itself. And that's why, we have to increase some of the fees so we can keep our retained earnings above our 15% goal, so we can continue to, purchase capital items. But, the 15% might not be a reasonable number anymore in the future with the cost of like electric vehicles and such, so.
Okay, thanks.
But, we still considered Dartmouth to have a low rate for our refuse disposal, where we've looked at other towns that have smart programs and pay-as-you-throw, and their fees are a lot higher for the annual fee and for the bag fee. And, we're working with the district to hopefully increase the timeline that we have to, I guess, reach capacity at the Crapo Hill landfill. Because once we do reach the capacity at the landfill, the prices are going to go up exponentially because we'll have to find another way to dispose of the refuse, whether it's by freight out of state, or if it's, if we can incinerate it, through another company. But, either way, it's going to be costly.
Tim, is New Bedford moving to recycle? Have you heard whether, because that would help with the landfill?
New Bedford does recycle. They have a recycling program, but they don't have a pay-as-you-throw program.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of, I guess, a logistical nightmare for the city.
Okay.
Yeah, But there are cities that have moved to the pay-as-you-throw programs, and they have worked. So.
How much are you hauling out of town now versus going to Crapo Hill?
So we 4,870 tons curbside, and then we had hauled out, was it 978 ton from the transfer station?
So the 978 is what leaves the town?
No, both, add those together, yeah.
So nothing's going to Crapo Hill?
So it's about 5,700
So
tons that,
we're not using Crapo Hill?
yeah, we are using.
That's what I'm trying to understand, is the difference between what we're using in our own landfill, which has a
Yeah.
life expectancy, and what is already being hauled out of town.
You mean by private haulers?
No, I mean by Dartmouth.
So we haul all the refuse that we collect, either curbside or at the transfer station, to Crapo Hill currently. So,
Okay, so there's nothing at this,
we
we're not
consider that.
paying for anybody else at this point.
And
No.
the town considers that their landfill, even though it's regional.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand that.
we're a partner with the city of New Bedford in the landfill, so we pay, and our assessment is based on the tonnage that which is about 15% of what's brought to the landfill, and New Bedford pays the 85%.
Yeah, Tim, this whole thing with the running out of space
Yeah.
to dump things, I think it's been a recurring issue for at least 2 years. Have you gotten any guidance from anybody on what the town's going to do about that?
Well, the landfill years ago when it was approved for a certain number of cells. So they do have an additional cell, but they still have to get a final approval that they can use that cell. So they'll be going through that process to add another additional 5 to 7 years.
So we really haven't, like, the town hasn't taken in any consideration. I'm not sure I know what they would do,
Yeah.
but we're assuming that will put this off for a little bit more.
Correct.
But it could just as easily, they would say, whoever's in charge of this, DEP, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they would say no, and then we'd be like, what do we do? So,
Right.
So longer term, somebody should be looking at.
Yeah, so the district is is also looking into it. So they're not only looking at this cell, they're looking at possible future expansion, they're looking at other ways to get rid of trash, whether it's incineration or, by freight in the future. So a lot of, if you look at a lot of private haulers in the area, they use a lot of their own site transfer stations, which a lot of those have rail access. So they are already using that to ship out to other facilities, whether it be incineration facilities or just end of use, which is landfills.
I guess what I'm really asking is that we should be trying to get ahead of this instead of reacting.
Yeah, we are. We're working with the district. We meet with the district quarterly, and this is on our agenda every quarter, and we discuss,
Yeah. Who do you report? You report that to the board?
yeah.
And then how do, well, I guess it has to have some kind of cumulative evidence that some major changes are needed before they get involved.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So as EPA and DEP continue to increase their regulations on drinking water and wastewater and stormwater treatment, our costs and design upgrades for any of our facilities and infrastructure continue to increase. Chemicals and equipment costs to treat wastewater also continue to increase. And the age of our wastewater treatment facility requires additional maintenance, repairs, and a lot of overtime. We're thankful that we've been able to upgrade some of our equipment for both the wastewater and the water treatment through the Bristol County Opera program. It's kept a lot of those fees and costs away from the ratepayers, which is, allowed us to somewhat try to maintain our lower rates. The cost to purchase drinking water from the city of New Bedford also continues to increase, and we've already overspent our budget this year for purchasing water from the city of New Bedford due to multiple equipment failures, number of storms that have knocked out transformers at our wells, lead times on some of this equipment where you used to be able to get a transformer in a week. Now I think they quoted us 12 weeks for delivery, for transformers for a site. And then when we received the transformers, one of them was damaged in transport. So we had to wait another 4 weeks to get another one. So,
But the raise in New Bedford charging, is just going to keep going up and up?
yes.
We discussed
Yep.
this for
Yes,
2
so,
years.
so New Bedford has their cost increases too. They have treatment and chemicals and labor costs, and they continue to go up. So, they continue to increase their costs to us, both on the water and the wastewater side.
Yeah. Has anybody, have you, not you particularly, but has the town tried to talk about how to ameliorate those costs or to drive them down, even though they're New Bedford costs or?
Yeah. We've met with the city, and we would like to continue to meet and discuss the increased costs. We also, our goal is to kind of supply as much water as we can from our own wells, where we only need to supplement from the city in the high peak volume months, which mostly during the summer, and that works well until you have breakdowns and mechanical failures.
It works well, but we're still paying New Bedford for it, and the more we consume, with their costs added on, the more it's going to cost us going forward.
Right.
Okay.
And same, we're working on our, one of the opera-funded upgrades at the 579 Old Westport Road Water Treatment Facility, where it'll allow us to put back online a number of our wells, and it's also an upgrade in water quality as well. So once that's back online, we should see less water being purchased from the city. But it's also, the city's source is a great redundant source. It's great to have that because if you, back in, I think it was 2020, when we had a real heavy rainstorm, and we had contamination in 2 of our wells. Well, we had to shut those wells down. To turn those wells back on, we would need to issue a boil water order. But we were, because of that redundancy in the city's connection, and we were able to keep functioning, and we didn't need to issue a boil water order. The town of Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Marion, Rochester, they had to issue a boil water order during that same storm from the same issue of contamination to a well from the amount of rain that we had. But they didn't have that redundancy, so it's a great safeguard.
So New Bedford has a reservoir?
Yes,
Okay,
surface water, yeah.
We
It's
might-
actually in Dartmouth.
it's actually in Dartmouth, okay.
It's on Fons Corner, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But we won't get into that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that story.
So, let's see. So I listed some of the issues of one of our sites lost power during the storm, which destroyed the transformers. And moving forward, we also lost a pump motor at the Pinelli well, and another recent storm actually blew out one of the brand-new transformers that we just replaced. So, and so that well's been offline as well. It also burnt up the electric service. So we're working on replacing that service in the transformer. The 579 water treatment facility project, it costs $2.6 million, funded through ARPA. It's expected to be completed sometime, I think, early to mid 2026, and hope to have that back online during the summer of 2026. The design of our wastewater treatment facility aeration upgrade has been completed. It's at 100%. Unfortunately, the cost estimate has increased from $2 million to $6 million. So we did add some additional items, probably about $600,000 to $800,000 worth of additional items. And we also have a grant from the state in Buzzards Bay to add some nitrogen reduction to our outfall through the aeration tanks. So we're looking forward to get this project advertised and bid, but we'll need some additional funding to move forward.
Are we still skirting on maximum use of the treatment plant?
Yes, yep, around that 80%. Yep.
So this aeration, it's an upgrade?
So-
These are the big tanks, and then they have the thing that goes around and turns the water, right? and-
Nope.
It's on the outside, right? No?
It's on the outside, but it's the big square tanks, not the round tanks with the
Okay.
arm. So the aeration happens from aeration from the bottom. It pumps air
Okay,
from the bottom of the tank. So it's a square tanks that you'll see bubbles in.
okay.
It's aeration. So there's a new technology called fine bubble aeration that allows us to add more oxygen to the wastewater.
Right.
And more efficiently, and to treat more, so we have more capacity for BOD, or biochemical oxygen demand, which will allow us to treat more wastewater coming in.
I went on a tour of the facility.
yeah.
It is well worth it if you haven't, to make an appointment and look at what is actually going on there. It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, well, I saw that thing with the fan you buy at Home Depot, cooling one of the things. Has that been taken care of, or?
What is it?
I saw a fan that you buy at Home Depot, inside, cooling something.
Oh, yeah, no, so that's cooling our pump motors.
Yeah.
So those are our influent pump motors.
Has that
That's
been
right,
resolved
yeah.
yet, or?
So they just run so hot
Yeah,
that we need to run we don't have AC or climate control in that section of the building, so we have to run the fans at different times of year to keep the motors cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry. How many, last year, I think we were worried about going over capacity of the plant.
Yes. Yep.
And I don't know, last year, did you go over?
We did not, no. So we're around the 80%.
Right. But
So-
when it rains, it goes very close, right?
Yeah, so when we have heavy rainstorms, with some inflow and infiltration, we do hit peak. So that, you know, the flow is calculated on a rolling average, so it's not just peak flow. So we record all our peak flows, but we also have our lower flows and our daily average flows. So,
How-
but you want to stay below that 80%, because once you get over that 80%, then the regulators come out and require upgrades to happen immediately.
That's
It
what
becomes an
happened.
emergency.
Have we become, are we close to doing that on a regular basis, or what?
So it fluctuates, but we are close to the 80%.
So that could happen with a big rainstorm, or,
Well, I mean, if.
Oh, but it's on average.
It's a rolling average. So while these peak rainfall events do add to our flow, when it averages out, it falls back around the 80%.
so if the inspectors come out on something like that, what's the downside of the town, fines?
No, so if you exceed an MCL, then there'll be, if you continue to exceed MCLs, you'll get a letter from DEP, non-compliance, and if you continue to, you'll be fined.
Are they serious fines?
Yeah, they are. And, but we haven't exceeded any MCLs, and
Have you come close?
we have.
And once you start trending, there's not much you can do about it, is it? I mean, depends
No.
on the event, I guess.
Right, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. We show a 1.8% increase in drinking water supplied, with a total of 952,817,925 gallons, with only 70.3% pumped from the town wells and 29.7% purchased from the city of New Bedford, which is kind of a higher offset than normal. We usually see more pumped from the town and less pumped from the city, which that kind of represents the additional costs that we're paying to the city.
Is there any way you can, I'm not asking you to do it, but, there were well problems in the past, and that increases the amount of stuff we have to buy from New Bedford. But I think I heard, is it always in that 70-30 range, or is it 80-20, or what is it?
No, it's more in the 80-20, 85-15.
But
I think last year it was 13% from the city.
But the New Bedford piece of it is
Yeah.
going up, right? If you did a straight line projection of the New Bedford piece of it that we buy from New Bedford, it's going up, right?
The percentage?
Yeah, a projection.
I think in the last couple of years, because of we had the 579 treatment plant down for the Violetta well
Right.
reconstruction, and then we've had these issues with contamination and equipment failures that, I think we continue to buy more from the city.
Right.
But we're hopeful that in the future, we can go back to our, 80-20, 85-15.
And that was fairly stable at one time?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We also show an increase of 13.5% of treated and discharged wastewater for a total of 1,234,010,000 gallons of treated and discharged flow from the wastewater treatment facility. So as that trends upwards, we get closer to our 80%. DPW staffing continues to be an issue as we struggle to hire professional staff to fill multiple vacant positions. This is felt all around. We hear it from other municipalities as well. I had a discussion with the DPW commissioner and our DPI commissioner in New Bedford, and he's having the same issues.
Is it because towns are not paying enough? Or is it because people are not interested in working in this field for municipalities?
I think it's kind of all around, both of those, and licensing for whether it's commercial driver license, hoist and engineer licenses, water, wastewater treatment licenses. Doesn't seem like people are really going out and getting his license, and so nobody can find these professionals, So I actually, I was asked to speak at Diamond Vocational a couple weeks ago to a class of juniors in different trades about, working for municipalities and all the different licensing that is needed to run all the equipment that we have. And if some of these students, if they're not going on to college and they want to work on a trade, they don't actually offer those trades at vocational schools, but they're job opportunities. And we had some good discussions with the students, and gave them a list for all the licenses, and that we offer seasonal programs as well for co-op. So,
Do you know of any towns around that have successfully met this issue?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, okay.
While we were at Diamond, we also brought a couple pieces of equipment because they asked us to come the following week. So one week we brought a sander, a brand new sander that we had just purchased, and the students got to sit in it and pull the horn and take some pictures. And then the following week, when they asked us to come back, we brought a plow truck, one of the brand new dump trucks with a plow, and I saw some, interested, eyes, so a couple of the students, asked how they could apply for seasonal opportunities. So that was good.
That's great.
So when you do that with that sort of thing, like if you need licenses and you get somebody who's a bright spark that's working for you,
Yeah.
does the town have any facility to say, okay, if you stick around, we'll pay for you to get that
Absolutely,
license?
absolutely. And the school does too. Speaking to Diamond, they offer some of their students, they will actually put them in a program for a CDL or a hoisting license. So that's good. But with the town, we have a program that we had built into our operation budget that we would pay up to $2,500 towards a CDL class, and then we also pay for the licensing and the renewals. So and that's for current employees and outside employees. So if you were to come in interested in that program, you would be hired as a laborer and given 6 months to a year to complete that course, and then we would promote you to that either HMEO position or the SMEO position. For the HMEO requires a CDL, the SMEO requires a CDL and a hoisting engineer license. So,
How's that program doing? Do you get any?
we've had one. We've had interested staff both inside and outside. But we have one current employee that has taken the course and is going for his testing. So hopefully that happens soon, and we can promote that individual. And we've had a number of outside applicants interested, but nobody has taken it yet because they may be leaving another job that pays higher than a laborer rate. So to come in as a laborer and not be 100% sure that they're going to pass the test and get their CDL, they don't want to. Nobody wants to take that risk, but it's available.
So you mentioned Diamond. Town of Dartmouth pays a lot of money to New Bedford Voc.
Yes.
Do you do the same thing with New Bedford Voc?
So Mass DOT, this was through a Mass DOT pre-apprenticeship program.
Okay.
So this came straight down from the state, from Mass DOT, as they were at that state. And I did mention to them if they were, if they do, go over to New Bedford Voc, we would be
Okay.
gladly to,
All right, so it came from the state. so
came from
it
the
wasn't-
state, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the state's going around to a lot of different trade schools,
Yeah.
offering this program. And I think it's a 1-week program for the students, but they do it for a couple weeks so they can get, because of the academic and trade rotation.
So how many crucial job slots do you have that are open?
Well, this is at the end,
Oh, okay.
Brian.
But
So last
currently, we
Oh,
have
I
six.
saw it, I did see it.
We currently have 16 vacancies. Yeah, we had,
So why don't you just continue on the
yeah, sure.
highway?
So this year, 3 highway, yeah, here we are, 3 highway department staff retired, each with 38 years or over 38 years of service. And they, all 3 they were CDL licensed employees and Hoiston licensed employees. Our water and sewer superintendent also retired with 39 years of service. Those, that's a lot of years of service right there and knowledge.
So those employees don't have a son or a daughter that they recommend to take the job?
Nope, right? Yeah. And we do have some, sons of older staff or existing staff that work
Yeah, a lot of
with us.
kids who
Yeah,
with their
that have moved
parents
up
do.
and gotten, whether it's a CDL license or wastewater license or water license. One of our associate engineers actually was promoted to the planning director position, which is a great promotion for him. And our administrative clerk was hired as a town payroll administrator here in Town Hall.
They're killing
Yeah,
it,
so,
Jim.
yeah,
Associate engineer to town planner, I mean, I don't see that
yeah. Well, he
skill set.
yeah,
Go ahead.
came from a planning and engineering background on the private sector.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then we worked with us in the engineering division for 3 years. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Tim, I imagine the state is doing those activities at the vocational schools because of the hiring issues. Are they doing anything else regionally, or are any of the towns trying to get together to, recruit people, or?
So we're talking in our office about reaching out to UMass Dartmouth.
Okay.
And, and we typically do, we will work with seniors at the high schools level, like Dartmouth or Voc, and to offer seasonal positions,
Yeah. Okay.
to try to get them interested, We also have an operator training for water and wastewater licensing as well, not just the drivers and the hoisting license, but we offer, to pay for our staff who are interested in obtaining licenses for water and wastewater.
Just a comment. I think it's wonderful what you're doing with students and so forth, but I gotta wonder, are you better off going to our own high school, Dartmouth and New Bedford, versus the Voc? Students enrolling in Voc now is very competitive. It used to be, when I was a young boy, it was, we called them the grease monkeys. They got into it. It wasn't competitive. It was, they didn't have the book smart to continue on to college. So, they enrolled in Voc, which was a great move for them. And now it's highly sought after. Anybody can out of Voc. So it's very competitive. And there are also the Voc educational system, Diamond and New Bedford are both doing bragging about the amount of students graduating and moving on to college.
Right.
So, how many are even considering going being a laborer and getting their CDL when I think 90% of them are moving on to college? So you better have captions in the high school, the students who couldn't get into Voc, who may be not interested in going to college, who are out there in limbo and say, oh, I got another alternative here, someone that's willing to give me some training.
I
'Cause
don't
a
I don't
CDL,
disagree.
License and a hoisting license is extremely valuable today, and people are paying great wages, and it's not that difficult. It's scary, I understand, you know, you're going to test it, it's not, I've done it, you know, they're not difficult tests to study for and go through.
Right.
I gotta wonder if you're better off there.
No, I don't disagree. I think the local high schools are also a great avenue. And like I said, we do work with them on a seasonal basis, but I think similar to the pre-apprenticeship at the vocational schools, it's also an opportunity at the high schools. I know it's also, you know, some students have difficulty getting into the trades that they want at the vocational schools because it's so competitive, you know?
Okay.
But yeah. Let's see. Also, one of our associate engineers took a town administrator job in another town. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say that again,
One of our associate engineers just recently, his last day was today, he took a town administrator, it was a
Okay.
DPW director position.
Okay.
Just ready to ask what town.
All right,
We
okay.
were looking for an administrator.
I was gonna say,
But
all right,
so he, you know, it's a great, same thing, and, you know, a great move, and we support him in that move and wish him well, you know, as a director in another town.
Now, UMass has a program, right? Do you still have interns coming from UMass?
We haven't had an intern in a couple of years, and so my assistant director was, you know, reach out
Great,
to them and offer, you know.
yeah, that'd be good.
okay.
See,
16 vacancies?
what's that?
16 vacancies?
Yeah, we currently have about 16 vacancies. We continue to use seasonal employees to supplement HMEO vacancies during snowstorms, which has worked out well, other than, you know, the redundant learning curve, and, you know, constantly training new drivers in there, but they, you know, typically they have the experience of driving heavier trucks, so it has worked out, and you know, every storm this year, we've seen a good amount of the seasonal employees come in and step up and do the work. And my personal feeling is that, you know, the pay is a little high compared to our staff, but they also don't get benefits. So when you look at the value, you know, again, we were talking about value with benefits. It's increased, you know.
So the former HR director and town administrator,
Yeah, the former HR director and town administrator actually came up with the pay scale for the seasonal employees.
and so you think that it's affecting staff morale because it was set too high?
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah,
when you're driving a solid waste vehicle down Fons Corner Road and you see the electronic sign that says Town of Dartmouth hiring CDL drivers at $50 an hour, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
But, I mean, you know, if we offered less pay, would we have had the turnout that we have? That's a question, right? We've had a good turnout of the seasonal plow drivers, so they've come up and supplemented our vacancies.
Yep.
So if we offered lower pay, we might not have had the turnout. And when we keep getting additional applicants for the seasonal program, and most likely because of that. Moving on to, as a result from the compensation study in 2019, the organizational hierarchy from the DPW was disheveled, and I know I've discussed this in the past numerous years. You know, many staff feel that this was done deliberately by the town administrator to disrupt, you know, seemingly well-oiled DPW, but the former DPW director also stated that he was not given a chance to review the reclassification or the classification and compensation study before it was voted on, and the union steward said it was basically take it or leave it. And some of the union employees didn't vote or voted against the reclassification because of the errors that were in there. 5 years later, we're still dealing with some of these errors or seemingly unfair classifications. Through many grievances, meetings, MOUs, we've worked tirelessly to bring the DPW organizational functionality back to what it was. I can say, like, when we have a hierarchy or the organizational charts that you see in the budget, that's how we work, and that's how we fill positions. So when you come in as a base layer, a base level employee, there's steps to move up, right? So we've had changes where one of our clerical positions went through the classification study. It was reduced 5 grades, where most of the reductions were about, I'd say on average, about 3 grades. So if you were a 7, you might be a 4 now. Well, we had one of our positions was a 6, now it's a 1. So it's an entry-level position, but it's at a higher step than other entry-level positions. So it's more work, but it's tough to fill those positions internally because nobody wants to take a job with more work with the same pay.
Okay.
I have a question, it might not be for you, it might be for Gary. What is the review process for reclassification?
So currently, the town has gone out with a new reclassification. 2018 was the last one that we did. We have a firm in place now. We've just signed with them. We are going to engage with them and have this process take some time. It's probably going to take at least 4 to 5 months. In the meantime, what we're trying to do is, and I've kind of got the nod from a few of the unions, most all of them, to do a bridge contract, so that it gives the town time to look at the reclass and analyze and digest it. I think to Tim's point, when it was done in 2018, the review process probably wasn't as robust, but I think we have to take a little bit closer look at what that is. This is important. Also, we're going to be getting job descriptions now, where we didn't get job descriptions in the past. Some of these positions, we're looking at job descriptions that are 10, 15, 20 years old, especially if positions haven't changed in so long because of longevity. So we're in the process of that now. Hopefully, we'll roll that out soon so that we can at least get it going and have the review process into the spring and then into the fall.
So the last time that the reclassification was done, there were no job descriptions attached to it?
No.
And who would be involved in the review this time around with the new consultant?
So ideally.
Not the same consultant, is it?
No, completely different. So typically what happens in a reclass and through the analysis, they'll have a group come in, they'll meet with the department heads, they'll do the review, they'll ask questions on certain job descriptions, they'll meet with the employees, they go back, compile the data, they come back, meet with the department heads, and review it for one last time. Then that would be presented in some fashion to the Board of Selectmen and for their review.
How are the disagreements resolved before it gets to the selectmen?
Well, they use criteria, it's pretty robust. Well, the last firm that did it used criteria that asks standard questions and then grades them amongst, they use technical metrics where they use comparing it to percentiles and the responsibility, either a fiduciary responsibility, safety responsibility, so on and so forth. So that's done on the onset, and then the review of that is done by administration.
But I guess what I'm asking is, what happens, who resolves if there are issues like we had last time?
It'd be one-on-one with the department head.
Yeah.
If the department, what we want is a clean
Who's the
document.
one-on-one? It would be department head and you?
Department head and administration. That's what it would be.
You?
What we want is a
Town
clean,
administrator or,
Oh, the
right,
administrator,
yeah.
okay.
What we want is clean information. That's what we want, that can, remember, that's a tool for not only the current employees that are in town, but recruiting. So when we talk about looking at comparable communities, we want to make sure that we have a document in place that we have that's pretty solid, that looks at what we're paying people and the percentiles of other communities.
It's comparable so that we can get people to come work here, right?
Right, we want to remain competitive. That's what the point of a reclass and compensation study.
So something clearly went wrong last time.
Well, I don't think it went wrong, and to the point where I think the data was there. It may have been adjusted and changed, but, I can't speak for what happened.
Well, I
That
think
was
the other thing
2018, that was a long time
is,
ago.
this was done before you were in charge of
Correct.
DPW, so you got kind of stuffed down his throat.
Yeah.
You know,
Inherited it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty much done before most of the, I think the highway departments, even myself was.
So the town administrator has the final say?
I wouldn't say the town administrator has the final say. I think that it would be a collaboration between the department heads and the town administrator.
But he or she
and
would be responsible for
Presenting it to the
presenting
selectmen.
it, and, but also working out the kinks. But ultimately, the buck stops with the town administrator as a recommender to the select board.
Yeah, the data's compiled by the firm, and then where that data goes from there, it's depending on the town. and how they
So
wanna
what's the
approach it.
morale in the department these days?
It's still shaky. I mean, we've lost a number of employees, and, I think there's still some kind of hard feelings for, what happened during the reclassification, and it took 4 or 5 years to fix some of the errors, and some never got fixed,
And so people left in the process.
Some people left in the process.
Yeah, so, I mean, what we try to avoid, if you're having a good, solid reclassification and compensation study, what you try to avoid is MOUs and MOAs in the process, because if you have good data, memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, if you have good data, then there maybe should be no reason for an MOA or MOU. Typically, that's the case, but I think in the short term, that both Chris and I have taken this role, and the Board of Selectmen, we've been working with Tim to try to, some of the changes that he said, because it was hard getting these SMEOs and MEOs in place, HMEOs in place. They just couldn't hire them. So we've been working closely with them to try to make some changes. But then again, it takes union buy-in for that too, because a lot of those members are in unions. So I'd have to say that both administration and the town is.
Okay,
I'd
so,
say
so at 6 o'clock, can we just talk a little bit about the current vacancies, and then can we
Sure.
take a look at some of the budget numbers?
Yeah.
And you'll have it up there, right? Okay.
I haven't, before you did, I had a call from
Okay.
one of the, no, we can go, but before you get into the numbers, I had a call from a town meeting member who had a question, but why don't you finish up and then.
Okay, so currently, we have a vacant senior principal clerk, water and sewer superintendent, water craftsman, water pollution control operator. We have 3 associate engineer positions vacant now. And one we hadn't filled, so we kept vacant, but we were looking to possibly fill it when we lost these other 2, so now we have 3. Water and sewer billing clerk, master mechanic, 6 HMEOs, which is CDL licensed drivers, and 2 SMEOs, which is hoist engineer required positions. And I just put down there that we currently have 5 seasonal snowplow drivers hired for the winter season.
Okay.
Tim, what's your goal on filling the position and your forecast on, you got some key roles there.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, we
Superintendent
yeah.
and 3
And I think a
engineers.
lot of it has to do with pay and benefit, where, historically, we've had interviewed candidates for positions, and they've seen whether it's, the health insurance rates or the pay scale where they have to start at, and they, most of the time, that's when they say, well, I'll have to talk to, and think about this, and then they say, we just can't take that deduction, So we have worked with Chris and Gary more recently with trying to hire some HMEO and SMEO positions where we were able to come up with MOUs to hire at a higher step to start these drivers who are experienced drivers at a higher wage than an entry-level wage. And it has worked out, and we've hired a number, but we just haven't filled all the vacancies yet.
Does the pay?
More focused on
Oh, sorry.
the keeping, the superintendent
Yeah, so
and
the-
your engineers. What's
Yep.
your, you can't change overnight the
No.
benefit package that we're offering. So what's your plan of attack? Is it roll over and play dead, or
No.
are you looking, I
None
don't
of
know
that.
what else
So
you
we-
can look at, but I'm
we-
just trying to
we've
get some
interviewed
feedback on.
We've interviewed 2 candidates for the associate engineer positions, so we're working on that.
They look promising at all, or?
Yeah, yep, yep, 2 promising. We've had a number of candidates that, you know, when we've reached out, they've either, one was offered their job back from their former employer, so, you know, sometimes they're reaching out just feeling to see what's out there, but they're still in touch with their former employer. For the water and sewer superintendent, we haven't received any kind of licensed candidates with the experience yet. But
So you've advertised.
we've advertised and we renewed our advertisement, so we're advertising with, you know, New England Water Works. I advertise with Bay State Roads, which is through the UMass transportation system. And we've also advertised with like MMA, you know, Mass Municipal.
So can you go regional? When I say regional, New England, or when you advertise MMA as Massachusetts? you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, we can, yeah. I mean, we've gone to New England Water Works, that's regional. But the municipal, I guess you could go outside of Massachusetts, you know.
So, on these more senior positions, are you constrained by the classification study about how much money you can offer somebody? Yeah. And same with benefits? And how about a situation where somebody doesn't have all the qualifications? I think you mentioned that that we will sometimes pay for somebody to get a license?
Yes, absolutely, yep.
Yeah. So is that like the ultimate course of lease, I mean, if you can't find anybody, you have to,
Correct, yes. Yep,
Yeah,
so
we're
that-
committed
that's an
to work-
option, but, you know, for some positions, you need those licenses, you know, per state, or and
to
then,
even start.
yeah, to even start, but some of them, you can work with 6 months to a year, you know, to give somebody to obtain the licenses.
Yeah, well, also too, when we're filling these positions, we want to make sure the person is qualified, obviously not just filling the seat. But we're committed to work with Tim and the unions, most of these positions, our union positions, to try to get these positions filled as quick as we can.
So the unions wouldn't like to have somebody hired that didn't fit the job description?
Well, we're working with the unions. I think the unions in general have been really, they know what, I mean, these are frontline employees, they know what's going on, so they want to see these positions filled too, as much as I think Tim does.
Okay. May I ask my question before you go on to the? Okay, I had a phone call from somebody on the town meeting member, and they were wondering, do we have any systems in place that measure the effectiveness of employees when they're out in the field? So, I don't know, she didn't cite anything in particular that these people were doing, but so when they come back in, suppose they had a job to do. And how do you tell if they're doing a decent job, or they're doing an effective job, or?
So,
You have automated systems that do this, and UPS, it says it takes X number of minutes to deliver a package, and therefore you've got to deliver so many packages? I suspect the answer is
Yeah,
no.
no.
But go ahead.
no, we don't. I mean, we have, we have our work order system that we try to keep up with when jobs are complete, but, you know, it could be a pavement patch job, right? Or a water main break repair, which it's tough to automate, you know, that work, but, you know, they have supervisors that go out and check on the work as well.
Okay, so the supervisor would go out in the field and randomly check on people to make sure they were doing, or if, for instance, if they did a job that took 4 hours, but they somehow didn't come in for 7 hours, somebody would be saying, well, you know, what was
Somebody would be asking questions,
the deal
yes.
was? Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's go.
But if if they ever have a question, you know, they're always welcome to call,
Okay,
you know.
thank you.
So Tim, up on the screen here, Mr. Chairman, we can put the different divisions up, and Tim can speak on them in the aggregate if you like, if you have any questions. You have this in your packet that was emailed to you. I have one more packet that's printed if anybody wants it.
Okay, so.
All right.
So expenses on highway, That has to do with the asphalt? Is that a correct statement?
This line item right here?
Yeah. 674 from 575, 17, is that,
Yeah, that would be
So
more
is
than
that-
just, that's more than just asphalt, that's,
So we had a number of increases, and a lot of them were in highway to do with vehicle repairs, fuel. Let's see. My ground maintenance, so it's facility maintenance.
So they'd be generally listed under expenses, right? Where we see the big increases in, well, some of the big increases.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
repair and maintenance of streets and tree work, so,
Basically raw material,
yeah, so that's repair and maintenance of streets and tree work, so that's asphalt material and materials to repair the roads, but we also added some funding in there as the Dartmouth Tree Committee is working on a tree bylaw, and they're also requesting $20,000 in operational funds for trees to be planted throughout the year.
and so that's in that.
So that's built into that line item, yes.
$20,000, okay.
Let's see. We added some for police detail, as, as the police get paid more, we pay more details, costs.
Okay, so really, almost every category, expenses.
Also,
Solid waste.
electric. So electric's another big one that, I'm sure everybody's seeing the increase in their bills, electric and gas. And we also, the highway department, we removed our old oil-fired furnace boiler last year as well, and we installed a new higher efficiency propane furnace and new heaters. So we're looking at higher propane costs there. So we reduced the oil cost, but we also increased the propane, estimated propane costs.
Go ahead, Jane.
Tim, you mentioned that the consultant fees that I asked about before was categorized under professional services, which I don't see as a category here. Is it in another spreadsheet?
Yes. Yep, so you'll see that more on the water and the wastewater budgets,
Okay, thanks.
Bob?
Go ahead.
where we don't see a lot of, consultant fees for the highway division.
So the expense line item, I mean, just went through that, your justification on it. But we're reviewing everybody's budget. And overall, at 9.5% increase, which is high than what we're seeing from other departments. And the expenses, when you look at 40% increases, 13%, 17%, 22%, these other departments are dealing with the same issues: propane, fuel, electric. And, yours is the largest, I get it. But percentage-wise, why do yours seem so much higher than every other department in town under expenses? I would think their expense line item would be much smaller, but the percentages should be the same if we're all seeing propane increases and this increases. Can you go back and take a second look at that? Because that's a tough nut for me to crack, and
Yeah, if we look
present
at
this
our,
to town meeting and say, overall, you're looking for a 9.5% increase. And, we're looking to level fund. And a lot of it here seems to be on the expense side. So are you just adding too much fluff there? And I'm not making it, where is it?
Right.
You know, because.
So
other
first of
departments
all, what goes into the expense line is the same throughout the town, or are they different?
So, no, one main thing you have to remember here, some of these are paid by the rate users, so this is not. it's
I
general fund.
understand
It's still
that,
an
but it's still-
increase.
it's still a
Right, it's
tax,
an
it's
increase,
still
but
increase,
some of it's
doesn't
paid by
matter,
the
right.
rate users, some of it's paid by
Right.
the general fund operations. So, I think maybe to Tim's point on a lot of these, items that we're looking at, remember, the DPW is running a 24-hour operation as far as like the plants are concerned. Nothing shuts down. I mean, it's not like they can shut boilers up.
That doesn't change from year to year. I'm strictly looking at percentage. So they ran 24 hours last year, they're running 24 hours this year, and yet their percentages are much higher. In my opinion, it's not because it's a 24-hour operation. Doesn't matter if it's 8 hours or 24. The departments that are running 8% are asking for, 2 and 3% increases in expenses, and we're seeing much higher numbers here.
Yeah, I think too, it's the volume, I mean, I don't think we can compare it, I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison to like, town hall facilities, for instance. It's, we're looking at, an operation that deals with much more electricity, much more, I get that the percentages may want to be the same, but to me, that it's not an apples to apples, the volume that they're using for all the resources that they need, electric, gasoline, oil, propane.
I'm a department and I used $1,000 last year in electricity, and electricity's gone up 4%.
What more?
He may be using 100, I'm throwing out hypotheticals. You got another department that's using $100,000 worth of electricity, it should only go up 4%.
Gary?
So it doesn't matter the amount you're using, the volumes, the percent is the percent, and it should
Unless
be
the
applied
definition
across the
is
boards.
different.
My understanding, though, is that past budgets haven't really reflected the actual costs, which is one of the reasons for the increases. I think,
Yeah, well, a lot of these departments for electricity and gas and everything have level funded their budgets for the last 5, 6 years. And now that that's increased like almost double, I mean, you look at the cost of energy, I track it daily. Just in the last week and a half, it's gone up almost $5 per kilowatt. So if we're saying that we've level funded those budgets, now we're trying to true that up, yeah, you're gonna see a major increase in that line item. So we can leave it level funded, but we run the risk of it's bottom line budget.
No,
so
I don't say we do that, but I'm comparing this to other departments, and we're not seeing those increases. So
Yeah. So
are they all wrong and he's right, or is he wrong? Yeah.
I just-
That's
So
what I'm trying to
as
understand.
we worked on level funding our budgets through the many years, more of our line items become in the red and further in the red, where the vehicles, I brought that up. Well, last year, in the last few years, we appropriated, say, $85,000 in maintenance for the vehicles in the highway, but in FY '24, we spent $128,000, and the year before that, we spent probably $120,000, and it's been in the red every year.
Yeah, parts
And
are
we
going
see
up,
our bottom
earnings.
line getting smaller and ready to go over, so we've been, I actually was, the budget that I was submitted from my department heads was probably 25% increase, which I've value engineered down to this 9.5%, but it could still use a little work.
Say something first. Okay, so Gary, if you, the theme for this year is actuals, right? Because we bang our head looking at budget from budget. So, those are budgets too, right?
They're all budget.
Not actual?
Yeah, so there's no actual numbers?
We have, yeah, when you.
Because when we're looking at budgets,
Yeah.
I'd like to see what the actuals are, because that gives us a lot more information.
What was underfunded, what was overfunded.
Yeah, exactly,
Right, right.
exactly.
We can't see that here in this.
Yeah. And if you go down to the bottom, I mean, when I look at it and I say, okay, why don't you have totals on the first two columns? I'm not sure who did that spreadsheet, but, you got all the detail. All you gotta do is add up those numbers and you put them in there, so.
I think maybe Tim can speak to that, he prepared this.
Okay.
But I think what he's trying to do is show the variance between what he's asking for and what And I think the committee had asked for percentages, so.
Yeah, no, we did,
Okay.
but all I'm
Yeah.
saying is, there's no reason not to have that total at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know what, that was missed. I saw that.
Okay.
So perhaps we need actuals, another chart like this with the actuals
Yeah.
on it.
So would you narrow this down and put actuals for every year?
Yeah, well, for
Yeah,
the years you
that's
got
what-
there.
That's what we've been doing, yeah.
We have that prepared already in the munis report, so I can forward that
okay,
on
you
to
can
the
crank it out.
committee
All right, but like,
with the actuals.
yeah, but like, there's not enough detail here because the word expenses. You know, it's one of the problems we run into with the school committee. You know, they just, administration, teaching staff and stuff like that.
Expenses, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Janine.
I think to John's point is, part of it is the fact that expenses is not broken out into the different categories that we saw in the other departments. And I guess I would question what other departments use raw materials. I mean, no doubt, electric went up a certain percentage, or gas went up a certain percentage, but who else has raw
Well,
materials as
that's
an
what I was
expense?
asking about the
'Cause
line
that
item.
might be adding to it for sure, but we don't see the breakdown.
That's the point I was
So
asking
if you,
about. What's in expenses?
Well, you've got the breakout, the breakout's all here.
Okay.
It's all there in the packet, it just,
if you go further into the package under the highway division, there's a breakdown of all the actual
I'm
expenses.
sorry, there was a lot of material in that.
Yeah, there
package,
is.
So
All right,
if I'm
so-
overlooking something,
All right,
forgive
so
me.
Go back down, go back down. So expended means actual.
So that's the admin, yeah.
That's the actual for last year. And and then the second column is what they appropriated.
And then this is the
last
ask,
For the
right.
budget for that,
and then this is the ask for.
asking, okay, so this gives us the detail we're looking for.
But it
Yes.
doesn't tell us what
Expenses.
Expenses over.
is
No, they're right there,
expenses,
yeah,
but
yeah, they're right there.
doesn't break it out.
Well, it's only 1 year.
Oh, I understand, I understand.
Oh,
It's
expenses.
broken
there
out
you
by
are.
division, so,
Yep.
because it's like 6 divisions.
Yeah, so this is
Submits
this is
individual.
admin, right?
So this
This is
page,
admin, right.
This is admin, so, that top one is repair and maintenance for vehicles. Then there's repair and maintenance office equipment, professional, medical, and dental, so it does go down for each line item.
Okay.
but it's only, the top of the columns are
Actuals.
24,
Actual.
Yep,
25, so we need a couple more years to look at actuals and budgeted.
we can drop, if you wanted to drop a couple more years, we can drop a couple more years in there.
We can definitely,
Yeah.
we can definitely add all the
The munis
actuals.
report has all those years in it, it's just for purposes of
Well, I
presentation.
don't want you to do extra work, because I'm getting
Well,
people
we-
saying,
we've
no,
got it.
don't bother, and I got other people saying.
No, we've got it, I can
Okay.
just submit it to you.
Yeah, I like, a
Actual-
couple of years of actuals, and then,
I agree.
and then with what the budget was last year versus this year, because we really, if you don't understand actuals, you don't
Right.
understand the budget.
Right, and that's what we use to,
That's what that's
prepare
what we use
this
to build the
budget. We
budget,
use the actuals for multiple years.
Okay, all right,
We don't see it, so
Yeah, you
that's,
don't
that's
see it,
our
yeah.
issue.
all right, but, I mean,
But you have it, so. And then you have to update this sheet too, the cover sheet, based on what the actuals were.
Yes.
okay, so why don't we go to, like a department where there's, I want to see if there's a big
Let me go through
changes.
some of these, this is the detail, engineering,
Yeah, okay.
engineering's next. So we're gonna add
Okay, slow
Yep.
down, slow down, slow down. All right, so this is, what department is this, engineering?
engineering.
Okay. So there's, budget for this year, budget for last year went up quite a bit for other salaries.
Yes.
So any particular reason, or didn't go up, well, went up,
Most of those are laborers.
25,000 on,
Most of those are laborers.
The laborers union.
Yeah, laborers.
So that was step increases, cost of living increases.
so that's assuming full staffing, which you don't have, right?
Correct.
Okay.
On a lot of these. We'll go through these, that was engineering. Infrastructure.
Okay,
Yeah, so- So that's the highway that we were looking at, the,
Yeah.
the different expenses and actuals. So same with the salary increases, you have your step increases and your cost of living increases, and then it's budgeted for, the budget includes any vacancies.
So here's a good example of, I think, what Tim was talking about. 24, we expended 23,000 in electricity.
Yeah.
19 was budgeted in 25, so Tim's trying to true it up to become closer to what the actual was.
Yeah, I mean, we can
That's
bring
across the
that
board.
down to 24 to have a smaller percentage of increase. But with the, with the forecast of the cost of electric,
That's fine.
we don't see
It
it
is.
going down.
Yeah, I mean,
I
electricity's,
wouldn't start futzing around with 1%. and it's,
Yeah, so now you can clearly see the detail there.
Yes.
Just in that one
Street paving.
line item.
Yeah, so that
Yeah,
first
street paving,
page,
yeah.
John, is the summary, right? It's the summary page that shows the.
yeah, the first page is summary, the
percentages.
breakouts on
Yeah.
the rest of the packet.
But you could do a couple of years back.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this, for the snow and ice, this is relatively,
Can't do anything about that, really.
well, we've been lucky this year, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're, you might have seen there's a shortage of salt on the horizon, so we're trying to stretch out what we have as much as we can, and we may have to do a mix with sand to make it last.
So the line item 52402, expended 87,000, whatever, appropriated 15.
Yes, so that's a vehicle maintenance cost, right? Actual cost, and then the budget, it was budgeted for 15,000. So, there was a big increase to 40,000, but it's not even half of what we spent.
But that was just a bad year, or? is that-
could have been.
Yeah, it could have been,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. But the repair and maintenance costs have continued to ramp up since COVID. Yeah.
Do you ever see, I mean, do you have any confidence that these things might go down in the future? Just gonna keep going up, basically?
I haven't seen anything to give me confidence of that, unfortunately,
I track electricity rates every single day
Yeah.
for the town, and as I mentioned, in the last few weeks, they've gone up almost $5 a kilowatt. I don't think there's any insight, and I think with AI coming in, it's more of a draw on electricity, so it's gonna maybe pump up the rates even
Yeah.
further, so.
Yeah.
Before
And
it gets better, it's gonna get worse, that's my prediction.
And with the constant electrification of fleets and, of vehicles, requiring larger services and charging apparatus, it's just going to keep going up, I think. I look at, listening to the governor where she's requesting that the utilities lower their fees for gas, but they haven't, and they haven't talked about lowering fees for electric, and I think a lot of the increases are in the transmission of the electric rather than the usage.
Yes, right, yeah,
Yeah.
distribution.
Yeah, well, the other, I mean, I think gas.
So it's the
is-
infrastructure.
Gas is a big cost of electricity, and the size of the pipes that come in to Massachusetts is limited. And the state of New York won't.
Yes,
pipe has to
correct.
come. The state of New York won't allow them to expand those pipes.
Correct,
Right.
yep.
So they can't get to Massachusetts.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's an infinite, there's only certain.
There's only so much pipe in
so-
that,
so
you're right.
much
In
pipe
New
coming
England, actually.
In New
New
England,
England,
yeah,
yeah.
coming into New England, so.
And you also see, since that issue with the explosions up in northern Mass, they've been working on updating a lot of their older infrastructure, which increased costs too. So I think that's getting passed down to the consumer.
Okay.
Solid waste.
So, okay. So this is an enterprise fund, right? So
Enterprise,
this is-
correct.
So this is gonna go into the rates, right?
Correct.
So you can see the same large increase on repair and maintenance of vehicles.
So how, if you have these kind of budget increases,
Yes.
how do you, like on the enterprise funds, how do you I mean, so you pretty much know that the fees are gonna go up way ahead of time.
Also, so if you look at there's a trash bag line item.
Yeah.
So we increased a trash bag line item from 187,000 to 200,000. Well, we also expect, as we see more residents coming into our SMART program, typically you'll see more purchases of bags. So you might also see more revenue, from the bags. And then you'll see, as you see more people come online, that increases the annual revenues as well. So, and then with our increases, we've been working with our consultant, studying our costs and expenditures and our revenues, and looking at 10 years of retained earnings and expenses, and that's why we come up with the $20 increase this year in our SMART program. And then next year, we're either looking at a bag increase or possibly a smaller increase in the annual as well.
So how far out do they project these increases? You said
10 years, yes. Well, we projected through our capital expenses and our operating budget, we projected costs and revenues for the next 10 years. So that, allowed us to forecast the rates.
Okay, so you could theoretically, all things being equal, when you forecast things, you could theoretically project the cost of rates out 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, they had a study that was done last year, I believe, that projected all that. And also keep in mind, there may be blips to that, too. I mean.
No, yeah, it's a
there
forecast,
could be
I
blips.
guess.
And there's always the unexpected, or, unexpected was, coming in with the requirement to purchase electric vehicles.
Right,
Rather
totally
than
unexpected, right?
internal combustion engine vehicles, where it doubles the cost. So that's going to eat away at your retained earnings, and
Right.
so now you might have to raise the
you haven't got
rates
enough.
higher.
So
Yeah.
And remember, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, there was 0 rate increases for
Right, I
a
remember.
number of years, 0 rate. So that did nothing for retained earnings. It was great, I mean, because there were no rate increases, but as costs
Catching up?
escalate.
Yeah, catching up.
Since the inception of the program, we haven't increased rates. I mean, the SMART program started at $90. The following year was reduced to $80.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And then went up, and then was bumped up, back up to 90, but it's been
At
that
least a
way
decade.
for years. And
I don't remember the reduction.
Yeah,
It was the first year, after the first year, it went down because of, actually, we had so many SMART program accounts that actually, it brought up the revenue. And at that time, we didn't need to keep the retained earnings that high, so we bumped it down. But now, as we see these increases, and we probably should have implemented some increases in the last few years,
yeah.
but we've been keeping our retained earnings pretty stable.
Oh, that's, okay.
But they're starting to trend downward.
So, this is just a quick interjection. I think last year, we talked about doing a state of the town. We did, I think, do a state of the town at town meeting.
No, we didn't do one last year.
Oh, I thought we did.
No.
We talked about doing it.
We talked about it, but it was, I think, too late in the.
If
we've
you
been
were there-
talking
I
about
mean,
it
so
for
what-
a few
sorry?
years.
If you were there, you would know.
I tend to be gone during the summer. I tend to be gone.
We wanted to do it, we
Well,
talked about it.
my point is that this sort of stuff
Yeah,
should
absolutely,
be in some kind of state of the town.
absolutely.
And there should be long-range projections. And
I
there's-
agree
and
with you
people- People should be
100%.
saying, that, you agree with me?
No one's going to disagree with you.
Well, how come we haven't seen it?
Well,
I
it's a
can't
town
answer that
administrator that's
because
supposed to do that.
It's somebody else's responsibility.
It's the responsibility of the town administrator to do
It
that.
doesn't matter whether I was there or not.
All right,
I had to say it.
so do we do this one already, solid waste?
We just, didn't you do solid waste, Tim? Just did solid waste, so the next
Okay.
one is
Waterways, water waste,
wastewater.
wastewater, I'm sorry.
Oh, construction division.
All right, construction division, okay.
Did you jump over recycling? In transfer station?
No, this is solid waste.
Solid waste,
We
and
just
2
did solid-
pages where, after that was the recycling.
Solid waste, so now we're on construction. I think they were probably out of order.
Yeah. All right, construction it is.
What is sick leave incentive?
Sick leave incentive is, so, you get, I think it's $50 per quarter if you don't take any sick leave in that quarter.
Interesting.
So, and then at the end of the year, you also get an additional 150, I think, if you don't take any sick leave throughout the whole year.
That's different for different, like if contracted positions and non-con, the terms are different.
That's for laborers union.
Yeah, that's for laborers,
I think,
yeah.
okay.
For my first 10 years, I didn't take one sick day.
Do they carry over at all, or no?
They do.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that putting your kids through school now, right?
What's that?
Putting your kids through college now.
Pretty much, yeah.
So other salaries, 373, you budgeted 526, and now you're up to 544. So why was there such a big increase from the prior year?
Which one is this?
Other salaries. You
What
expect,
division?
your actual is
Construction?
374, you budgeted 526, and you budgeted 544, which that budget to budget makes sense, but why is there such a big difference between those 370?
Between what was expended?
Yeah.
So the vacancies that we have.
that's
So
a
we
big
have multiple
difference.
vacancies in the construction division with HMEOs.
Okay, that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's, how many positions, Tim? 10?
In the construction division?
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do your job with that.
Well, this is what I was alluding to before. I mean,
There's 9, or 10, if you include the supervisor, yeah.
Like, yeah, I can go.
Yeah, water pollution control is next.
Well, let's look at the expenses.
Oh.
Anything in the expenses that we want, okay. Oh, that's good, okay.
Yeah.
Back up.
So there was an increase in public works supplies.
Okay, so fleet
So-
maintenance.
This is a construction division, so,
Oh.
constantly buying, purchasing tools and supplies for the construction division, which going in the red, so we tried to true up that line item.
Okay, so now we're on fleet maintenance.
All right?
Okay, so the question I have on fleet maintenance,
Fleet maintenance?
yeah, this is fleet maintenance, yeah. The question I have fleet maintenance was, when they first built that garage, and this is going back to the Mike Prue days. I mean, are you just doing your own cars? You're not doing other departments,
Town,
are
yeah.
You
Yep.
are?
Yeah, all except for police. Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay. I know police is very reluctant, but, okay.
I think with the police department too, they've proven that they can do the maintenance the way they are at the same rate, and they get it more quickly.
Yeah, there's a
The turnaround's much
human,
more quick.
yeah, there's a,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Usually they show up and with a police car, and we have a garbage truck on the lift, changing the rear end,
Water
So
pollution
this is
con- water
sewer
pollu- Yeah,
employees?
sewer.
okay, again, other salaries. Big difference between the actual and the last 2-year budget. And that's not union contracts or anything, that's just, you're not, other salaries under sewer.
Yep.
We got a
So,
position- yeah.
under salaries, we had a number of vacancies. We had a couple water pollution control operators
Yeah,
vacant. We recently filled one, and we recently filled 2. So 2 out of the 3 operator positions have been filled, and we have 1 vacant.
when you do your budget, you have to assume you're gonna fill it.
yeah, I understand.
Right, we do.
But-
We look at filling them all, so.
But, I mean, that's like 60%, 60% that means you're missing a lot of people, and it's a little, I would think that would be kind of dangerous.
I mean, across the board, you can see that it skews the numbers for until that, we get back up to complement,
Yeah.
you know? It's not,
It's not a good thing, because you can't do all you're expected to do.
Okay, so electricity plant, you expended 617, you budgeted 525, and you budgeted 525 this year.
Yeah.
Is that adequate? I mean, it's like almost $100,000 less than you spent 2 years ago.
Right.
I would question that. I'd ask Elon Musk.
To fly in and give us a consult. Doge.
We have, we have done some upgrades this year through APA, Bristol County APA, and included some efficiency upgrades, so,
Okay, I'm just making that suggestion.
Yes.
I think that's, and
and we also looked at the current year projection of expenditures, and it looked like
hit a date?
we're looking good.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, do you remember last year, how many people you were down?
It wasn't 16, it was probably,
13.
probably
13.
about,
It was double digit.
maybe about 10,
yeah.
yeah.
10. And then, is there
Maybe,
any way you could
yeah.
go back and look?
Yeah,
Just
oh,
to see,
absolutely.
like, maybe 3 or 4, the same amount when you do your budgets, to show the actuals,
Sure.
to see how many folks you were down?
Last year, we had more CDL driver vacancies. I think we were in the, like, 8 or 9 vacancies, where we didn't have all the other vacancies. But we had, we were still down a water pollution control operator, a craftsman in the water division, so. But I can look it up and
Yeah,
get
if
the
you could look
numbers.
and then just list what the job titles were that you
Yeah.
were vacant.
Sure.
I appreciate that. You can give it to Gary, and then I'll give it to us.
Well, I just want to point out the same thing with R&M wastewater plant. You spent 180,000 2 years ago when you budgeted 100,000 or 100,000. It might be a little light there.
Mm-hmm,
But, look at your year-to-date actual.
yeah.
Okay, Gary.
And it looked, again, the current year expenditures looked a lot better than last year's.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's tweaking the numbers that,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right,
looked at that too, so.
all right.
This is,
Okay, so that's pretty close. So non-energy utility sewer,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 150,000 higher, but I'm assuming that year-to-date you're running high?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, and also, just, as you were discussing the electric as well, so if you go down to the solar, in Borrego solar credits and the
Yeah.
EMI solar credits,
Yeah, right there.
so we didn't fully expend those credits, so that also supplements the cost of electricity.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay, so, okay, Gary. Water,
Water,
water
yeah.
enterprise, okay.
the last one.
So this budget had a high jump in, one of the high increases was the cost of non-energy utility water, which is purchasing water from the city of New Bedford.
So the prior year, you purchased 13%, if I remember right. This year, you're up to 30%, and so you think you're gonna be over 30% this year? That's basically what that's saying, right?
This year, but,
Yeah.
but,
Oh, I'm saying
yeah,
20
but
26.
26.
You think you're gonna be higher than you are this year, even though you had a lot of failures the prior year?
It's a tough call.
Yeah, no, it is a
Yeah.
tough call.
And,
Because you can't control it.
no, no. I mean, I'd like to see it at that 1.4 million, but I think it's possible that it'll go over. It might not go up the full 1.6, but
Okay.
I think this year was kind of an anomaly due to the failures.
Okay, and then R&M tank maintenance, that's a big,
Yeah,
that's a big one.
so that line item, so we recently put out an RFP for a 15-year tank maintenance program at our Smith Neck Road water tank. So it's a 15-year tank maintenance. It includes painting, which is a big expense, inside and out, which is over $1 million. And then constant maintenance includes divers to go in and inspect the tank and maintenance over 15 years. So we had put $300,000 into our capital improvement plan for this. And we've done it kind of annually, but it hasn't always been approved. So the thought was if we put it in a budget line item, then we know the money's there. The proposals are due next week, so we'll be reviewing them in the next couple of weeks and have a better idea of where we stand on the costs.
but Garrett, that's capital.
Well,
That's capital.
it could be. We could
No,
keep.
it is.
We could keep it in capital, but yeah.
That belongs, I mean,
But because it'll be a contract for 15 years, we need to, the funding would have to be there. So whether it's in fully
Okay, I see what you're
fully
saying.
expended in
It's
capital.
a
Okay.
long-term project,
so,
so
all right, so it's not like a one-time deal, it's,
No.
you're hiring somebody to do it.
It's a million.
Okay.
which it isn't.
Well,
That's heavy, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah,
That's-
the painting itself of the tank, so it's all the sanding and painting of the
Yeah.
tank, taking the tank down, that's over $1 million, it's about 1.5 where it's estimating. And then the ongoing maintenance, so we estimated 300,000 for 15 years.
And that's
Well-
required by law to maintain those tanks, right?
Well, to keep quality water and to not exceed, contaminants, MCLs and stuff, you'll start having problems and the state will make you shut down the tank if there's any corrosion. So we have to maintain both the inside and the outside of the tank, so we don't have any contaminants.
Seems to me too, over the years, that no matter what you budget, it always comes in more to do the maintenance. Am I right?
Unfortunately, it does, yeah.
Yes, I seem to remember talking about this a lot.
Yeah. Eventually, they're probably not going to use humans to dive. They're going to be using robots and, so.
So, yeah, you can't use the thing that they use in pools?
Awesome.
So this is an enterprise fund, right?
This is
This is enterprise
The last
fund.
few enterprise.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll be, like I said, we'll be reviewing the proposals in the next couple weeks and,
Could be.
and if we can change that or reduce that line item, that'd be on our focus.
Tim, of all your departments, which one is going up the fastest, the highest curve?
I say it's a race between water and wastewater, but I think water has been, in the past few years, increasing higher, faster.
That's it, that's the last one.
Okay. All right, can we take a look at capital just capital for the next 2 years?
What's that?
Can we look at capital for the next 2 years?
Yeah, we have our capital for the next 10 years, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at this point in time, I'm only interested in,
And one of my recommendations, so every year we, and especially now, we have a 10-year capital.
Yeah.
And every year, we also provide 5 years of detailed, sheets for 5 years of capital.
yeah,
I don't know if you think it's more feasible to only include maybe 2 years of detail sheets to shrink this package down. And because once you get beyond 2, 3 years, 4 years, those detail sheets are most likely going to change on what's replacing what equipment or the costs.
For us,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think all those sheets are really necessary. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
No, just-
But
this is good.
just as perfect.
Yeah.
We were actually the ones that pushed for the 10-year thing, but, this
Yeah,
year
I
and
mean,
next year.
For the finance committee, we can probably try,
Just
but
this
for
is- yeah,
CIPC, they
just
want to
this.
see the.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
because this it goes before town meeting.
But you still have to put together some kind of numbers to come up with these numbers, even if you
Yes.
go out 10 years.
Yeah, so we have the
So you
detail
have
sheets.
to do it
yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah, we do, and
We don't have to see it.
I think a couple years, 2, 3 years, but,
Well, I
It
mean,
just-
look, and I'm glad to see it, painted there on bridge replacement, 2030, 25 million, okay? So at least it's there,
Yeah.
there. And that's probably has to do with all the work that Terry, you guys have done in the capital planning thing to get that out there. But, all right, so for this year, you've got Dartmouth Street, 50% design, what's that mean?
so Dartmouth Street, so we're working on a reconstruction project from Rockland Street to Middle. So this project is currently on the Mass DOT TIP, or Transportation Improvement Plan Program. So we hired a consultant to complete the design, and we're at 25%. So we're just looking at moving forward to a 50% design.
So in other words, you're just gonna fund 50% of the design in this fiscal year, right? Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, and then stormwater asset management, sewer and stormwater asset management, what's that? 250,000?
Yes. So we were actually submitted for a grant, and we were awarded a $150,000 grant for sewer and stormwater asset management, which is basically taking the data that we have for both sewer and stormwater and getting that onto GIS platform. And the total cost that we estimated for the project was $250,000, and the award, so it requires a 40% match. So the award being 150 with the 40% match would make that the 250. So it's a reimbursable grant, so we need to fund it up front, and then we'll be reimbursed for the 150. So the expenditure will be 100,000. But the match can also be in kind, so it can be labor. So in the end, the match expenditure might be less. It might be around 50,000.
And Crossroad Phase 2, people gonna like that. The only, they're not gonna like is just the design, because every year at town meeting, everybody asks when they're gonna fix Crossroad, right?
Yeah, so Crossroad Phase 2 is another section of Crossroad. So we're currently working on Phase 1, which is from the fire station over to the assisted living. So that project is moving forward on the tip, and we're hoping to expedite that project by bringing the design in sooner than the project's planned for with the state. And being a phased project might, with a lower value or lower cost, might be able to, if other projects don't make their program year or get bumped out, or if there's extra funds, we might be able to program that project at an earlier date. Then if we did all of Crossroad in one phase, it would have been a much higher cost, where you'd never see that move to an earlier year because it's such a large cost. And, we have concerns of federal funding, right? So a lot of this funding is federal, so.
These are the sheets we don't need. Okay. So this is engineering,
Yeah.
engineering, pickup truck, that's it?
Yeah, just, one
Okay.
pickup truck.
All right. Okay, so this is gonna be hard to read. So what department is this? Okay, so this is
Highway?
Public Works.
Highway Division.
All right, so Highway Division, so you do $1 million road maintenance every year, right?
Yes.
So, and you're looking for a sander plow, and then a pickup truck with a plow, and then a dump truck. A lot of plow trucks, huh?
Yep.
Is there any reason why? You usually don't, usually only ask for a couple, so why so many? Any particular reason, or?
So we looked at the 6,800 plow truck. That truck doesn't require a CDL, so we have laborers that can actually drive that truck, which makes it, kind of a wider range vehicle. And also the Freightliner truck, this
Yeah.
26,000, that truck also doesn't require a CDL, but that truck can actually hold a 9-foot plow.
Okay,
So with the amount of vacancies in HMEOs with CDL licenses, we're trying to be kind of creative and move to vehicles that don't require CDLs, so our other staff can actually continue to plow.
so you're gonna work on Robert Street, Edgewater Street, Tremont Street, Arch Street?
Yes, so these are future projects. Some were on last year's capital that carried over, and then the others were forecasts.
Okay, stormwater treatment,
Yeah, so stormwater on Water Street, we've submitted 2 years in a row for grant funding for the treatment for Water, Seawood, Hill, Gladys, and Day to treat some of the stormwater going into the bay, and we haven't been awarded any funding yet.
So the town has done 2 years trying to get the same grant. And it's an annual grant?
Yes, there's an annual grant, but it's very competitive.
Yep. So the issue is that other towns are more needy than ours, or what?
They could have older infrastructure
In other towns?
in other towns. They could have, more contaminated stormwater, which needs high treatment.
When they award these things, do they explain to you or the other towns that have applied for it and why they didn't get it, why you didn't get it, or?
They don't, they just send basically a letter that,
You didn't
we're
get
sorry, you didn't get funded, try again, please try again, next year.
But there's no guidance on what might make you a more viable candidate the following year?
Well, so last year, we submitted on our own. This year, we actually used some guidance from Buzzards Bay Coalition to assist with the submission to see if they had any recommendations, and we still didn't make it.
That's awesome, though, that you got that assistance.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
that's very helpful.
Yeah.
so,
Good job.
so we're on.
Solid waste.
Recycling? This is solid waste. So the recycling truck, $895,000, if I'm reading that right?
That's the electric.
Electric.
That's electric? So what would a gas or diesel one be?
So a gas or diesel would be around 440.
Okay. All right.
And
Keep
there's
in
no
mind, now,
I
the
bet you-
charging systems to
There's
charge
no
these
recourse,
vehicles
Tim, right?
is very expensive.
You have to do it,
Also.
right? There's no recourse?
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that they won't have enough, they won't be able to buy it because there's not going to be enough made. Just like the police cars, where they.
Back order will be crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the second line item is the electric upgrade with
Right,
charges
yeah.
at the facility, so we can actually charge electric vehicles.
Okay.
And then the third item is actually refurbishing or rebuilding an older recycling truck.
So you'd go to an outside firm to recycle, to redo that, right? You wouldn't do that internally, right?
Some of it we would do in-house, but some of the bigger stuff, we'd go outside.
Okay, so what's
Construction.
this? What's that?
Construction division.
Construction?
Truck and
Dump
couple of
truck.
trucks.
Was that a front-end loader? And electric rack and body truck?
So the electric rack body truck
Yeah.
is, we use that for bulky item pickup. We use it for delivering our recycling carts. But so this is the truck that we're really looking to fund sooner than later. That's going to give us the credits to purchase internal combustion engines
Okay.
in the future. So if we purchase this vehicle, we may be able to delay the other electric vehicles so we can purchase some more diesel vehicles.
And, Tim, does it have to be in the same class vehicle? If you buy the gate loader truck as electric, could you then buy a recycling truck that's diesel?
Based on credits, so for the certain weight vehicle, they give you a certain amount of credits, and that gives you a number of vehicles that you can buy.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so this is wastewater aeration project, $5.2 million.
Yeah, so that's the aeration upgrade
Yeah.
we discussed earlier that came in at 6 million. We do have, I think, 1.3 million. And then the cost of the resident engineering is also, I think, 500,000.
Okay, so this is going through your committee, Terry? All this stuff is going through your committee?
We haven't heard from
No.
DPW
Okay,
yet.
okay, okay.
He's gonna have to do this all over
All right,
again.
so
He's getting-
that's a lot of money.
She's getting a preview, you know,
Okay.
it's perfect.
They get paid the big bucks, Tim.
But capital asks a lot of questions, so by the time it gets back to you,
Yeah, and that's the reason why these forms are there. This is mainly for capital.
Okay.
You know, our II remediation, you know, we use that. We just did a pretty heavy-duty inflow and infiltration study on a large area of our sewer system to try to reduce the amount of inflow, to increase basically the capacity, to reduce the flow going into the plant. So with that study, we're looking to move forward with some recommendations for upgrades to mitigate that flow.
So this isn't necessarily going to be all on the warrant, right?
No, so the process is, CIPC meets, we've already had
Okay.
police, and there's a few other departments that they meet with, and then we compile the article once CIPC votes
all
on
right.
their recommendations.
All right.
So you have
It's-
you have one left.
Okay, because it's 7 o'clock, it's after 7 o'clock.
Yeah, you have
already,
one
so
left.
I want to just start wrapping this up. And, go ahead.
Got water?
Now, 1.2 million for,
So that's the Route 6, so that 1.2, obviously will have to be borrowed, but Mass DOT is working on the reconstruction of State Road from Fonts Corner to just past Hathaway Road. With that reconstruction, they are planning to remove the concrete deck from the entire surface of Route 6. And they're also looking to replace the existing bridge or culvert across the Pascamanset, which will need to do some work on the water main. And since we have a 10-inch water main, we'd like to, and it's a 10-inch transite, so we'd like to upgrade that to a 12-inch ductile iron water main while they have the road torn apart. It'll be a lot less expensive for us to do it during that construction. And any portion that's affected by, say, like the Pascamanset culvert replacement, all those costs are taken over by Mass DOT, so we don't have to pay those costs.
okay. So I want to try to start wrapping this up. So any other just last minute questions? I just want to make sure, so Gary, we're going to get the actuals for a couple of years on that, the same spreadsheet, right? So that we can look at it, you
Yeah.
can send it to us.
Tim can drop those in
Even
there.
on the same
Yeah.
spreadsheet, we'll just
Yeah.
narrow down all the columns and.
Yeah,
I've got them in the munis report, but if the committee wants to have them in that, they can,
yeah.
Tim can drop them in.
I would like, oh, sorry.
So anybody, any other questions for Tim?
Well, I would like to see the vacancies over the same number of years that you.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And drop them in that last.
Yeah,
All right, thank you, Tim. I mean, it was a lot.
Thank you.
You got
That's
a lot. I
lot
mean,
of
thanks.
information.
Thanks, a lot of good information.
Yeah, it, it takes
it's-
us quite a while to get this all
Yeah,
completed,
it's-
and then, once reviewed, I usually go back and revise some of the items that I'm submitted, so. Most of these budgets came in a lot higher to me before you've seen them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're gonna have to work on this, because that number for expenses is pretty high, so, but we gotta look at the whole picture first, right?
Yeah, and keep, like I said, keep in mind, those are, you can't commingle that with the general fund budget, that's enterprise.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I
Enterprise,
got you,
yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tim.
Tim. Thank you.
Okay.
So, you want to continue on the agenda quick, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I'd like to skip liaison reports and go right to the minutes.
Can I
and we
just
do-
brief you on what's going to happen for the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay. So we are having, on the 27th, Council on Aging and Conservation. Those are the two budgets we'll see. And then on March, the following meeting, we'll be talking to the schools,
okay.
and only the schools. So it'll be the whole
What,
meeting.
what date is the schools?
So the schools will be on the 6th.
March 6th, and, yeah, if anybody has questions for schools, let me know, because I have a bunch of questions, and I'd like to get them earlier rather than later to them, because I'm going to ask them ahead of time. And as far as the minutes go, I just wanted to point out that it says on the second paragraph concerning Patrick, he works as a field manager. I don't believe that's correct.
Funeral director.
Funeral.
I wish I was a field
So,
manager.
so I'd like somebody to make a motion to change the minutes to, from field manager to funeral director.
So moved.
So that was made by Janine.
I'll second that.
All right, Brian will second.
Patrick, just stick around.
Based on that change, somebody want to make a recommendation to approve the minutes?
I would make a recommendation, subject to that change, to approve the minutes.
Okay, so Brian made that
Second.
thing. Second by Janine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes. I gotta get out of here. So, okay, so someone will make a thing to adjourn?
Bob, I know we're not doing liaison
Yeah.
reports, but I brought the questions that Finance Committee asked to the school committee
Okay.
before, so take a copy of that. And I also told you that I was gonna get the
Okay.
impact. You had asked Janine what the impact of the cuts were, the cut positions. Yes,
Terry, can you
yep,
send
take
those,
one.
can you send those to me, Terry? I can scan
Yep,
them,
I'm
or
gonna
I
give
can,
them extra to you, because not every, email it?
I'll email them to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
you'll
that's a
email.
great idea.
Okay, great, that's great.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. All right, thanks, Tim.
Yeah,
All right, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Harry, there seems to be something wacky here. We don't have enough.
It's like the
I'm
copies
gonna
are
email them to
different.
everyone.
He's got to email it to you.
Gary,
Oh, you can email
Email
it,
them
okay.
to me.
So we'll give it back here.
You email it to me, and I'll forward it.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Janine made a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second by Patrick.
You like Patrick?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Are you not? Thank you.
Caldwell.